Welcome back to episode 3 of the Selling Leonardo podcast series. Here we are exploring the intricacies of the Salvator Mundi painting that is not only the world's most expensive painting ever sold, but was also wrongfully attributed to Leonardo da Vinci. Episode 1 covered the murky history of ownership of this painting, and last episode, episode 2, we reviewed how this painting, which was in terrible shape, was controversially restored. If you are just now joining us, make sure to check out these first 2 episodes. In episode 3 today, we are going to cover a little bit of my own work as an artist, as well as how I became involved with the very people behind the sale of the notorious Salvator Mundi. Stay tuned. All right, well, where to begin? I guess the best place to start would be the question of, how do I become an artist? I get asked this question every once in a while. My response, hopefully without sounding too brazen, is to give 3 main points. The first one is to not be an artist. Don't be an artist. If you need someone to tell you how, or if you're looking for an instruction manual, then being an artist is most likely not the right path for you. Now, if the question of being an artist is already coming from an artist who is looking for general advice, then I would say to the second point that you should be visiting museums and galleries on a regular basis. And in addition to that, read everything art-related that you can get your hands on, such as art criticism, art history, etc. There is really no excuse for not pursuing art in this fashion. We all give time to what is important to us. So if art is important to you, then regularly spending time in museums and galleries should already be coming natural to you. The third point is that the subject matter is not nearly as important as to how you present the subject. Think of the work of William Shakespeare. At the end of the day, the subject matter for Romeo and Juliet is just about 2 teenagers who fall in love and kill themselves at the end. It's not the subject matter itself, but rather how it is all presented. So this has been the foundation to creating my art. Present art in a way that gives off my own unique voice and that can simultaneously be relatable to the other people viewing it. Art should have a sharing connotation to it. I started making art at 24 years of age and was fortunate enough to rise fairly quickly. The initial goal was to simply sell one work of art. However, one of the first paintings I made ended up selling immediately after its creation. So once that happened, then I needed to set a new, higher goal for myself, which was to be signed with a real art gallery. Now, I say real art gallery in the sense that it is not a pay-for-play gallery. There are unfortunately galleries out there that request money and other monthly payments and free labor of their artists in order for them to show their work. These are not real galleries and should be avoided at all cost. So whenever I say the word gallery, I am only referring to the true ones. With my new sights set on signing with an art gallery, a local one decided to give me a chance. I honestly couldn't believe it. I had worked so hard and poured everything I had into my art that getting rewarded in the sense of signing with a gallery really helped to legitimize the work that I make. I have actually regularly shown with that gallery ever since. And along the way, I signed with a second art gallery. And not too long after that, I signed with a third art gallery as well. Art galleries help to not only legitimize artists' work, but also adds a much needed context to the work that the artist has made. Something beautiful happens when a painting goes from resting on an easel to then hanging on a gallery wall. But even with this relative success as an artist, I craved for more. So I kept the pace and went out to try and get my own art in the collection of a museum. Having my artwork be legitimized by several galleries, as well as selling plenty of work along the way, helped me to form a strong foundation for my work. But I not only wanted my work to be legitimized, I wanted to create a lasting legacy with it. And that is where museums come into the picture. Museums immortalize the artist and their muse. They create immediate legacies. It is also incredibly difficult for an artist to have their work collected by a museum. However, by the age of 27, a major museum on the West Coast collected one of my art pieces. And a few years later, at the age of 30, a museum on the East Coast collected another artwork from me to go in their permanent collections. In many ways, it still doesn't seem real. But what I account for that is that I simply never stopped making art. Too many people start out trying to achieve something, but then they stop themselves short. I just never stopped myself and kept pushing forward. You might be wondering, what does all of this have to do with the Salvator Mundi? Well, in 2022, I applied to be a copyist at the Louvre Museum in Paris. My wife and I already had our trip to Paris booked, and on a whim, I decided to apply. Normally, copyists get up to 3 months to paint inside the Louvre Museum, but with me being on a limited time frame, I knew I could only devote 1 day for it. I didn't think that the Louvre would actually select me to be one of their official copyists, as they only accept 150 applicants from around the world to receive this rare honor. However, in June of 2022, I got an email from them saying that not only were they going to give me one of their copyist permits, but that they also granted my request to paint my own rendition of Leonardo da Vinci's painting, St. John the Baptist. I had an out-of-body experience while reading their acceptance letter to me. But now the time crunch had begun, as I would be in Paris in September of 2022. With only 3 months to prepare, I not only practiced as often as I could, but I read everything I could get my hands on. In addition to this, several of the world's leading Da Vinci scholars agreed to help me prepare to be an official copyist at the Louvre. These scholars were some of the very people involved with the notorious Salvator Mundi painting. I learned a great deal from them. And so this brings us to a close for episode 3 of the Selling Leonardo podcast series. Make sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date to catch the release of episode 4. Until next time.